Welcome to the LDS Mental Health Podcast. This is a podcast for faithful women who want healing in their relationships, guidance from God, and internal peace. Each week, you'll hear mental health concepts taught through a spiritual lens from me, a licensed clinical mental health counselor, to help you start thinking in a higher and holier way. Welcome to this episode. I'm so excited to welcome Mandy-Marie Eldredge. We're going to be talking about creating mental clarity in overwhelm. So welcome to the show, Mandy-Marie.
Thank you, Niki. I'm super excited to be here.
Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about your business?
I am Mandy-Marie Eldredge, and I live in Texas. We lived in Utah for 30 years, raised our family. I have children, and they are all married now, and we have 13 grandchildren. And so I adopted the name as Anna, and I love being an Anna. It is just way more fun than I thought it would ever be. I just love watching our children parent and see how amazing they are. I always hope the next generation is better than you. In the year 1999, I started to experience what would turn into depression. I didn't know what to call it. I'll share a little bit more about that in a few minutes, but that's where my journey with mental illness began. And for the ensuing 12 years, I had some pretty strong premonitions that as I had figured things out, that the Lord would want me to share that with other people, that there were people who were ready to hear what my experience had been and to give them hope that maybe they could step into a different experience with mental illness. So my mess really has become my message. And so I'm a certified professional coach, and I help women gain hope through whatever their challenges are so that they can stop just being in survival mode and actually move into thriving. And so I teach actual skills to get to that place by understanding hidden patterns in the mind, body, and spirit that sabotage the desire to really step into living a life that they really feel called by God to live.
Oh, that's awesome. We're like right in alignment. I'm so glad we met. This is so cool. This is so fun. You were going to talk about like your experience with depression and kind of that introduction to living a mental health diagnosis. Tell the people a little bit about what you experienced and what that was like for you.
So it began towards the end of 1999. And at the springtime of the year 2000, I just thought I was going crazy because I had so many blessings and there was so much going well in my life. And I couldn't figure out why I felt so sad and hopeless. So I just, well, maybe I'm not reading my scriptures enough. Maybe I need to pray longer. One thing I'm missing, I'm not doing something right. Otherwise, I would feel happy because I have a lot of great things in my life. I have a great husband. I've got these beautiful children. I could not understand it. And one day when I was particularly really in the slump, like bad, one of my friends called me, one of my girlfriends called me just kind of out of the blue. And I had not said much about what was going on up to this point. So in months of this building, and my husband knew a little bit, but I really hadn't shared what it was really like. And she called, and because I was in this deep slump, I just said it all. And I was crying, and she just said, "Do you think that you could have depression?" And I was like, "I don't know, but I'm open to anything. Like, I got to figure this out."
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I went to my doctor a few days later, and he gave me an antidepressant. And oh my goodness, within 2 hours, I was like back to like normal self. And that's a fast turnaround from the science, and doctors will tell you that it usually takes 2 weeks. So for whatever reason, for me, it just brought me up into this level place.
Mhm.
So that began a journey of 10 years of really believing that, okay, I guess this is my lot in life. This is what I need to figure out and deal with it. And hopefully I'll be successful at the end and God will help me through it. That's literally what I felt like. And so I didn't have the kind of depression where I just stayed in bed and hid away. I really tried to still be a really proactive mom, very intentional. So most people, and I really mean this, like there was probably two people in my world that knew that I was struggling the way that I was struggling because I just kept it under
Wow.
wraps. And in the year 2000, I was standing outside one day and all this thought just came to me, what if you don't have to live with this the rest of your life? And I was like, are you serious? Okay.
Mm.
That began a journey of understanding the mind, the body, and the spirit, the hidden patterns in each of those areas that was really sabotaging what was available to me. And that's what I help people figure out, whether they have depression or anxiety or not. I help in all arenas, because we all feel overwhelmed. We all feel less than. We all struggle with, like, how do we manage the 10 plates that I got in the air and
Yeah.
balls? How do I manage all of that? And that's just a very condensed explanation of that part of the story.
I think it's so powerful because a lot of women feel like I'm alone. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Am I the only one experiencing this? I guarantee there's so many women listening to this that are experiencing the same thing and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh, that could be me." Or sometimes the stigma of it could be depression, but what am I going to do? Right?
Right.
What does that mean for me and how
Right.
am I going to be helped by that? So I really love that you address that. That it can help
Yeah.
and really that acknowledgement of this is what it is, and I'm okay if this is what it is, can relieve a lot of that pressure too.
Just 2 weeks ago, I was visiting with a woman who was seeing if she wanted to work with me and have her daughter work with me. And she was so embarrassed because she said, I finally have had to put my daughter on anxiety medication. And I said, oh, good, because that may be exactly what she needs to come up to the next level and be like, okay, I'm ready to have somebody really help me see what's going on here. But down in
Yeah.
the deep pit, whether it's a teenager, whether it's a mom, it doesn't matter the age. If we're in the deep pit, it's really hard to, number one, believe that, well, maybe there's an answer, and then to accept that, oh, this person could maybe help me. So I'm not
It's a
anti-medicine.
It's interesting how we put a stigma on
Yeah, it
medication
is.
sometimes, like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want my body to be controlled like that,
Mm-hmm.
but we wouldn't look that way at diabetes or high blood
Mm-hmm.
pressure that's just genetic or chemically based, and sometimes we need that boost to be able to learn the things that we
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
learn and implement the skills because we wouldn't be able to do that if our brain couldn't focus or have the energy to do it, so
Exactly.
sometimes it is vital and important.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So, when you were experiencing this consistently, the depression, what's something that when you were in the throes of it that was pretty consistent for you?
Definitely overwhelmed. I didn't know to call it that, but
Mhm.
with the last 15 years of figuring this out, I totally know to call it overwhelm. There were specific times when I would have said I'm really overwhelmed, yes. But as a general rule, like overwhelm was like a foundation. Like it was just always with
Yes.
me and
Yeah.
realized that it was always with me.
Yeah.
There's one experience that I really remember that I was standing in our kitchen and we were preparing for a big party with the neighborhood. And so, of course, there's so much to do with that. And then, of course, we had all of our children and homework and the whole thing, everything that moms do. And I felt so much overwhelmed, just like sand upon me, like this dark, heavy cloud. I could still remember the feeling. And I remember standing at the island in our kitchen and anxiety really started to hit me. And I was just like, what is happening to me? I remember wondering, what was I experiencing in my body? And I started to cry because of that overwhelm. A little bit of time went by and something happened. Somehow I must have been talking about this experience, or I think a couple of our kids had witnessed me do this. And my daughter made this really beautiful remark, like really insightful remark. She said, Mom, you're worried about your bread list too much. You've got too much on your bread list. And I was like, what do you mean, my bread list? And she said, you have so many things that you're trying to do. And some of those things you don't need to do today. She was absolutely right. And I think
Yeah.
In that moment, that was a little bit of a turning point for me to consciously think, okay, wait, am I going down my bread list? And bread doesn't need to be a part of what I do today. I love to make bread. I
Yeah.
wasn't doing it out of a sense of
Yeah.
obligation. This is something that I love to do. And
Yeah.
so that was just really simple. And she's just a teenager. I mean, probably was 12 years old or something.
It's so true that our brains, when we are afflicted by whether it's a mental health diagnosis or something we're experiencing, it tends to pile things on and make us feel
Yes.
like everything needs to
Yeah.
be done. And that's that overwhelm feeling. And whatever the reason we might be experiencing that overwhelm, we then make choices that create more
Yep.
overwhelm for
Yep.
ourselves. That's why I wanted to have you on. I wanted to talk about if someone's listening to this and they're like, that's me, I'm doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We want to talk about simple things they can do because when
Mhm.
you're overwhelmed and someone tells you, all right, you got to go to therapy and you got to do these things, you have all these big things to do, you're not going to do them because you're
Mhm.
already overwhelmed.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
we're going to talk about three simple things that you can do when you're
Mhm.
overwhelmed. Small and simple brings great things to
Yep.
pass, right? And
Yep.
so, we want to focus there. So, let's dive in. What's your first tip for people if they are like raising their hand and that's me, I am there?
Yes. So the first tip is what I call the mind swirl. It's just those thoughts just circle and circle and circle. And sometimes we know what to do with them. Most of the time we don't. One thing that I love to do and that I teach all of my clients, it's really a foundational piece, is writing. It's literally having a brain dump and write down everything that I am feeling about that certain situation. And that writing actually interrupts the mind swirl loop that continues to go around and around. Dr. Andemir, she is a Norwegian University of Science professor, and she did a study a few years ago. She wanted to know what happened in the brain if you start to write things down versus if you type things. And she discovered is that more regions of the brain are activated when you write things down versus when you type
I
things
heard
down.
about that
Did you
study.
really?
Yes. And it made me think of all of our technology,
Uh-huh.
right? That we get in this, oh, let me do my voice memo. Let me
Yeah.
just type it out. And there really is power
Yeah.
like in our brain when we physically write something.
Yeah, exactly. That is so powerful. And then the really top powerful point of this is then after you've written everything down, you rip it up and then you decide, how do I want to respond the next time this experience happens? There tells your brain, I have agency and I'm going to use that agency. I get to choose how I respond. I don't necessarily get to choose that I'm overwhelmed and I've got 10 things today that have to be done, right? That might not all
Yeah.
be a choice, quote unquote, right? But respond to it, that's always your choice. And no one can take away that choice from us. So you mind dump everything and you don't worry about how it looks, how it sounds, nothing like that. And then you rip it up so that your brain knows, oh, I can destroy the negativity. I can destroy the way that I have been responding to this. And I'm going to choose a different response.
I
So
love that.
a simple statement could be, I can slow down. Clarity comes when I pause.
I love that. It's really in that's brain science right there
Mhm.
too. We will always do what we've practiced. Our brain is going to default to that thing that we've always done.
Yeah.
And so if you're experiencing overwhelm and you get frustrated and yell at somebody or you shut down and isolate yourself or go eat or whatever that response might be, if you don't go back and replay in your brain what we're really doing with the brain dump is getting to the right state to see this with clarity,
Right.
right? Not seeing this from the overwhelmed
Yeah.
state, but let me get my overwhelm down and then let me choose a different response. Like
Yeah.
hindsight's 2020, I can look back at this and I can say, okay, I don't want to show up in that way.
Mhm.
Not how do I solve this problem, but
Exactly.
how am I showing up
Yes.
when I'm faced with this problem?
Exactly.
Like I'm going to pause or I'm going to just reflect back to that person or I'm going to take a deep breath. Like, what am I going to do different? And playing that out in your brain gives you a higher chance of doing it next time
Mhm.
rather than just saying, I don't like that I did that.
Right.
Okay. But you're probably going to do it next time because you didn't think about how you're
Yeah,
going to do it differently.
exactly. Yeah, you're giving your brain different instructions. You're
I love the
training.
brain dump first.
Yeah.
And so simple. And maybe even writing that thing down so it's in your brain too. What are you going to do differently? Because it can
Right.
make
Yeah.
such
And
a
if you'll
difference.
repeat that statement every day, right, brain doesn't know the difference between what's happened and what hasn't happened. The subconscious part of the brain doesn't
Yep.
know that, right? So
Yep.
you're giving
Yep.
it new instructions. And eventually a new
Yeah.
pathway will be built. That's called neuroplasticity.
Uh-huh.
And then
Yep.
all of a sudden, what clarity just begins to happen so clearly. It's just, that's freedom.
That's so awesome. I love that, Mandy-Marie. Okay. So tip number 2, when women are
Okay.
overwhelmed and they don't know what to do, what's another simple thing they can do?
The last one was the mind piece. So I like to help women bring mind, body, and spirit into alignment.
Ooh,
Okay. So that's what
love
we're
it.
doing here. So I
Okay.
just gave you the mind piece.
Okay.
Now it's the body piece, which I call the tension loop. So if you're in overwhelm, you probably know what tension feels like. Like I remember one particular day, maybe it'd been 5 or 6 years into the 12 years of depression that I had, and tension had been building so much inside of me because I needed to have a conversation with my husband. And I was so of it because I didn't want a potential conflict and I didn't really want to hurt his feelings.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so it was building and building, and I just knew, I'm just a simple conversation, really. It was not anything earth shattering, honestly. It just
Yeah.
wasn't, which is makes this even more valuable to me to understand this was going on. So that tension was building, and I felt like I was going to bust at the seams. So Bessel van der Kolk wrote a book called The Body Keeps Score. And so my body was keeping score that it grabbed and decided, oh, it's super unsafe to have this conversation with your husband. And so the tension just kept building and building. And so what it did is it locked in this belief that anytime I need to have a crucial conversation with somebody, that might be unsafe. And so you don't want to do that. So we want to break those tension loops. And a really
Yeah.
simple way to do that is actually through breath. Now,
Mm.
this is super interesting because the more that I learn about this, the more President Nelson's admonition to us that this is what he said. When Jesus asks you and me to repent, he is inviting us to change our mind, our knowledge, our spirit, even the way we breathe. And that,
I remember
yeah,
that.
that little statement right there at the end, even the way we breathe, like I have contemplated on that for years. I mean, he said this in 2019.
Yeah.
And
He was relating it to repentance. Oh,
yes,
yeah.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
And we know that repentance means change. And so as I've thought about that, like, what does he really mean by that? The more I've been learning about the nervous system and breath, the more it's becoming very apparent to me. Like he didn't just throw out words. I believe that he never just throws out words. So breath really helps the amygdala, which is the fight or flight center of our brain, to calm down. So once again,
Yeah.
it's giving a signal to our bodies, I'm in charge. Not
Yeah.
you, not the survival patterns, but I'm in charge. So a really great way to break the tension loop is to take a deep inhale for 4 counts and then exhale for 6. And then with your hand on your heart, repeating, I am safe to move forward.
Mm. That's beautiful. And it's so true. When you think about the brain science behind it, we have the sympathetic nervous system that's activated when we're taking short, shallow breaths is meant to tell us we're in this fight or flight system.
Yep, yep.
And it's really good if you are in
That's
a
right.
situation where you need to fight or flight.
That,
It is a good system.
yes,
The
thank
problem
heavens.
is it gets activated
Yeah,
when we're not actually in danger.
that's right.
It's like a conversation with my husband is not a dangerous
Yep.
conversation. Although I'm starting to breathe in a way that it's telling my brain that it is dangerous.
Yep.
I
Totally.
need to activate my parasympathetic nervous system, which is the brake to our body and our mind, and slow this back down. Then my brain believes this isn't a dangerous conversation, right?
Yep.
Like my mind and my body now are on the same team, and I don't have to fight to tell my brain this isn't
That's
dangerous
right.
because my body's constantly saying it is. I'm aligning this and putting it back on the same page.
Mhm.
And by doing that deeper, slower breath, it really helps to activate the brake system to your body. And
Yeah.
then your brain and your body are in the same place. And then when you speak to yourself in that way, your brain believes it.
Yep.
By putting your hand on your heart and saying, I am safe to move forward, your brain's like, we are. I feel that and I believe that. And now I can move forward.
Yes. And you repeat that over and over again, right? It's not like all of a sudden your brain, oh, yeah, okay, good. And your body says, oh, good. Now it's repetition,
Yeah.
repetition.
Never have to do that again.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
the old patterns, right? All the patterns took years to develop. So it doesn't take years to rewire them, thank heavens, but it does take some time, right? And some effort. So just knowing that, okay, I feel super stressed right now. I'm just going to put my hand on my heart and I'm going to take a deep breath in for 4 and out for 6. And I'm going to tell myself I am safe to move forward.
That's powerful and so simple to do. So simple to do. And oftentimes I encourage people, don't just do it when you're overwhelmed. Practice it when you're not overwhelmed because your brain will turn to it and realize it's a good thing.
Yes.
And so practicing that all the time. Okay, I'm brushing my teeth. I'm going to do this. I'm in the car. Every time I get in the car, just whenever you're doing something, practice it frequently and it becomes that habit.
That's right. Yeah. I love how you said that. I have my clients do a daily reset every single day. And it's just 4 simple things that they can do in 30 seconds. It is to prime them. It's preemptive, right?
That's the way our world's built.
Yes.
Our world's built on this. Hurry up, do this, get this done.
Yeah. So that 30 seconds every morning when they're brushing their teeth is like a way to just calm that amygdala down, calm the nervous system and say, I'm safe to move forward.
I love that. That's powerful. Okay, tip number 3 for the women who are feeling overwhelmed. What can they do to help decrease that in their life?
Okay, so this is eliminating the faith fog. So easy to believe, especially as religious women, that I'm feeling overwhelmed, and therefore I must not have enough faith. I must not believe enough or the right things or et cetera, right? We could go on. And it's not a belief thing necessarily. In fact, most of the time, it probably isn't a belief thing at all. That's not fueling the overwhelm. It's just that the brain and the body are in a survival mode, like they're trying to keep us safe. They're doing their jobs. And they're just inserting to keep us safe. That's all that's happening. Yeah. So to understand that, okay, right now I don't feel like I have the faith I need for this, or I don't understand what I'm reading in the scriptures, or I don't really want to go to church. Like just understanding what's really going on, probably more of like mind and the body in survival mode. And so we want to take it out of that survival mode. I remember for probably most of the 12 years when I dealt with depression, I remember showing up to church and I wanted to be there. I didn't have a problem with that. I wanted to be there, but I didn't feel anything. The medication made me numb. That was one of the side effects of the Prozac for me personally. But I was like, I'd rather be numb than have the other feelings that I was feeling. So I was okay with it, right? But I would show up to church and I could tell that other people were feeling something. And I remember the voices that attacked me, like, you're doing something wrong. You're not as good. You're not as spiritual. You should be doing blah, 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 blah. And then you wouldn't be feeling this way, right? Like I had all of those voices attacking me. And so to understand that when those voices attack you, like look at what's possibly really going on, right? Remember, your mind and your body are likely in survival mode. Dr. Caroline Leaf, she says, when we focus on truth with intention, we physically rewire the brain toward peace and resilience. Here's another moment to really understand what's really going on. Okay, I've got my mind and I've got my body that are trying to keep me safe. And then really understanding, okay, I'm going to take that deep breath again. We're going to do the breath. Right? That's just going to become our best friend because it's just so simple to remember. And so take 3 slow breaths in and slowly exhale. And then I'm going to repeat the truth. God is with me right now.
Mm.
Now, there are going to be plenty of women out there who think, well, he's not with me. Just trust me that he is with you. You may not feel him, but that does not mean he's left your side.
I love that. It's the acknowledgement in the moment that you're in survival mode.
Yeah, that it's not a faith crisis. It just gets super curious. What if my body and my mind are just in survival mode and that's what's happening right now? Right? Then it removes the shame and the guilt of like, why am I feeling this way? And then
I love that.
more clarity comes into view because then we stop making it mean something about us and our value.
Yes, very much. So being able to acknowledge that your mind and body are in survival mode and that you don't lack faith and there isn't something wrong with you.
Yeah.
I love that because I was talking to someone a few weeks ago about depression and like how depression can take away your sense of feeling.
Yeah.
And she described it as the bird whose wings have been clipped, like her purpose is no longer there. And I was like, yes, it does feel that way. It does feel like the bird can't fly, so it's not living its purpose. But what if the bird can learn something by walking around on the ground that it can then take once it can fly again?
Yes.
Right?
That is
And
beautiful.
so I think in these moments, sometimes too, forcing ourselves to go somewhere that we can't in that moment really hinders us from building something in that moment that we could potentially grow in a different area. Like we don't have to just feel God. We can know that God is there, right? We might build our ability to see God in other ways. Maybe I can't feel him, but I can hear him. How are we building other ways that we can experience God? How can I increase my knowledge of God in these moments where I can't necessarily feel him? That's not the only way to experience God is a feeling.
Yeah, I love what you said to your friend. I can totally relate to that because that's how I felt too. I was like, the real me, like, where is she? Like, no, this isn't really me. I know I have something more to contribute than to just feel in this depressed state for the rest of my life. Just for your friend, in case she happens to be listening or somebody else that can relate to this, what I learned is that depression is inspiration minus expression. And so when she described my wings have been clipped, there's inspiration inside of her that needs to take flight. But her spirit knows that, but her body is acting one way, her mind is acting another way. And so when you figure out how to align mind, body, and spirit, it's not a magic potion that, okay, then everybody who has depression is no longer going to have depression. It's not that, but it is this freedom to know that you can respond differently. Like you were saying, that you told her, like, okay, so you're on the ground, what are you learning? How can this lift you into being an instrument in God's hands? So that's the beauty in all of this is whatever your challenge is, let's take your challenge and let's help you thrive. And we're not necessarily trying to obliterate the challenge itself. And then it's more like, how am I going to handle it? How do I want to respond to it? Let's give you skills to do that so that you show up with confidence in your ability to move forward despite the obstacle, despite the challenge.
That's beautiful. Oh, Mandy-Marie, this has been so wonderful. I have gotten so many good tips from you. I'm down here taking notes. I'm writing these things down. I really think these are super simple ways. And I just want to re-say them real quick for the women who are listening. One is to write down your brain dumps, get it on paper, rip it up, and choose how you're going to respond, right? Super simple. Even if you did one part of that, I think you'd make big difference. The second one is change your breath. 4 inhales, 6 exhales. I am safe to move forward. I love that. And then I love tip number 3 is acknowledge that your mind and body are in survival mode. And this doesn't mean you lack faith. Just acknowledging that. I think as women, we discount the power that can come from bringing awareness to a situation.
Totally.
Sometimes it doesn't have to be something you're doing, but it can be awareness that really, just like your story at the beginning, right? That just awareness of the doctor saying, yes, this is depression,
Mhm.
probably relieved so much pressure. It felt so powerful in that moment
Yeah.
within a couple hours.
Yeah.
Just that awareness piece. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. Mandy-Marie, if you could tell what's something that you want everyone to know that's listening to this, if you want to just impart one last bit of wisdom to the women,
Yeah.
what is it do you like to leave for them?
That Overwhelm has a message. And when you find that message and you know what to do with it, but just take the 3 pattern interrupts that I shared with you. When you know what to do with it and then you do it, you can step into the freedom of moving through your obstacles and thriving in spite of them. And you access the power of God in a brand new way. Paul talks about that in 2 Timothy 1:7. He says, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind."
Yeah.
That,
That's not, yeah. If you're feeling the other one, it's not coming from God.
yes, exactly. So there's a message in all of that. There's a message in fear. There's always a message hidden in this. It's not because we're messed up. It's not because we've done
Yeah.
something wrong and why can't we figure that out? It's not any of those things. It's a message designed to help us turn to the power, the love, and the sound mind that God gives us.
Oh, I love that so much. This has been such a powerful episode. I think this is so helpful for anybody listening to this. And also, if you're listening to this and someone who's experiencing overwhelm, send it to them because I'm sure we know at least 3 people off the top of our head that could use this information. I think it's the world we live in, unfortunately. But Mandy-Marie,
Yeah.
if people want to find you, where can
Yes.
they come find you? Where can they receive help from you?
So people can find me at coachmandymarie.com and Instagram at coachmandymarie. And I suspect in the show notes here, you'll attach that I have a guide that's called "I Want My Mind to Slow Down." And that goes into more depth, what we talked about with the 3 patterns to literally rewire our minds and our bodies, and then to bring our spirits onto line.
Awesome. We will link all 3 of those things in the show notes so everyone can find those and easily access them. Definitely go follow Mandy-Marie, check out her free resources. I think this is such a beautiful, simple thing that you could do for your life or to give other people as well. So thank you for coming on the podcast, Mandy-Marie.
You're welcome. I hope everybody feels some hope.
Thank you for listening to the LDS Mental Health Podcast. I hope you were able to find ways of healing, guidance, and peace. If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend or hit that follow button so you don't miss out on any episodes. Also, check out the links in my show notes for other episodes you might like and links for other mental health resources on my website.